Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Nowell, and first and foremost I must inform you that I am in no way affiliated with the Associated Press, the NFL, or any of their sponsors, and the views and opinions expressed in this video are simply those of blah 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 blah. You know the drill. Anyways, welcome to the Fan Awards. Today we are presenting Halfback of the Year, and we'll start. The nominees are Adrian Peterson, running back for the Minnesota Vikings, drafted in the first round of the 2007 draft, 7th overall. Last season, Peterson was signed to a 7-year, $96 million deal, but in December, he tore his ACL and MCL and was immediately placed on injured reserve. It was unsure how soon he would return to action, much less how effective he would be, but in week 1, he shows up and has 84 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that was with the team limiting his carries. And since then, they've unleashed the beast, and the yards and touchdowns continue piling up. At the end of the year, he not only carries the Vikings into the playoffs, but he also becomes only the 7th player in NFL history with over 2,000 rushing yards. He finishes the year with 2,097 rushing yards and tied for 3rd in the league with 12 rushing touchdowns. He also has 217 receiving yards and a touchdown, and has only lost 2 fumbles all season. Next up, we have Trent Richardson, running back for the Cleveland Browns, drafted 3rd overall to help lead the Browns to a new era. He had to battle through some injuries this season, but he's toughed it out He's tried to tough it out and help carry the load for the Browns offense. He finishes the year with 950 rushing yards and is tied for 4th in the league with 11 rushing touchdowns, which is a Browns rookie record. He also has 367 receiving yards and a touchdown and has not lost a fumble all season. Then we have Ray Rice, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. Drafted in the 2nd round of the 2008 draft, 55th overall. He has consistently been one of the Ravens' best weapons all year. The offense runs through him, and when it doesn't, they lose. He has 1,143 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns, plus 478 receiving yards and a touchdown. But most importantly, he does not have a single turnover all year. Next, we have Alfred Morris, running back for the Washington Redskins, drafted in the 6th round, the 173rd pick overall. He's playing in a Mike Shanahan offense and was supposed to be last on the depth chart behind Tim Hightower, Roy Halou, and Evan Royster. Yet he ends up starting all 16 games this year and finishing 1st among rookies and 2nd in the league with a franchise single-season rushing record, 1,613 rushing yards. Only the 4th rookie ever in NFL history to get over 1,600 rushing yards, and a franchise record 13 rushing touchdowns, and he also has 77 receiving yards and lost 3 fumbles on the year. And then we have Doug Martin, running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, drafted late in the 1st round, 31st overall. He was a complete all-around halfback who showed so much promise and was easily able to win the starting job. He carried the load for his team all year, including a fantastic performance against the Oakland Raiders. He finishes the season 5th among halfbacks with 1,454 rushing yards and is tied for 4th with 11 touchdowns. He also adds 472 receiving yards and a touchdown and has only lost 1 fumble all season. And then we have Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch, running back for the Seattle Seahawks, selected in the 1st round of the 2007 draft, 12th overall, played in Buffalo for 3 years. He never once eclipsed 1,000 yards and was looking like a bust. Then in 2010, traded to the Seahawks, had a breakout year, finally reached 1,000 yards, and in the Seahawks playoff game, he had the infamous Beast Mode run where he broke through every single Saints defender. And 2 years later, he continues to be a consistent force on the ground, and he's helped lead the Seattle to a playoff berth while finishing 3rd in the league with 1,590 rushing yards, tied for 4th in the league with 11 touchdowns, and he also had 196 receiving yards and a touchdown and only lost 2 fumbles on the year. We also have C.J. Spiller, selected in the first round of the 2010 draft, 9th overall. For the start of his career, he was looking like he might become a bust, but after an injury to Fred Jackson late in the 2011 season, Spiller began showing splashes of brilliance, and people were excited to see the two-headed attack from Buffalo. But then Jackson, once again this season, having trouble staying healthy, and Spiller ends up being the leading halfback for most of the year. And for the first couple of weeks, he led the league in rushing yards before he got hurt. And at the end of the year, he would fight off a healthy Fred Jackson and claim the top spot on the depth chart. And he finishes the year with 1,244 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns. And also has 459 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. And lost 3 fumbles on the year. And we also have Stephen Ridley, running back for the New England Patriots, drafted in the 3rd round of the 2011 draft, 73rd overall. In his second year in the league, Ridley won the starting job and boosted an already powerful Patriots offense. And he finishes in the top 10 with 1,263 rushing yards and is tied for 3rd in the league with 12 touchdowns. He also had 51 receiving yards and only lost 2 fumbles on the season. And finally, we have Arian Foster, running back for the Houston Texans. Foster was undrafted as a rookie and signed with the Houston Texans, and since then he has grown into a household name. The entire Houston offense runs through him. He finishes the season 4th in the league with 1,424 rushing yards and a league-leading 15 rushing touchdowns. He also has 217 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns and only lost 2 fumbles all season. And let me just say this for the most part. A few guys fall a bit short. Stephen Ridley, C.J. Spiller, and Trent Richardson. I wanted to give them recognition because they pretty much had the best seasons of their career, and they played very well. And I wanted to acknowledge that, these are some guys coming up, maybe in future years they could end up being the best halfback in the league. But those are the only 3 not really in the running. And as much as I love Ray Rice, he's a fantastic playmaker, and there's no doubt that without him, Baltimore's offense would not be shit. But he didn't really have the fantastic numbers this season like a lot of other people have. And there are just too many great players who deserve to win. Alfred Morris and Doug Martin, they both had tremendous seasons. They're both in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And either Marshawn Lynch, he had a fantastic year all season long. That Seahawks offense has ran through him. Without him, they'd have like at least 3 less wins on the season, including the playoffs. And it's just, they all deserve recognition. Arian Foster, obviously he is the key. He's the cog that makes that Texans offense run. All of them had fantastic seasons. Any one of them could easily deserve this award, but I have to give it to Adrian Peterson. He, coming back early from major surgery and having the best year of his career. The injury that he had would usually hobble people for about a year. I mean, he had MCL and ACL surgery. And, normally, an ACL injury could take a year to heal. He had ACL and MCL and came back in 8 months and was better than before. And that just deserves so much recognition. He's now part of the 2,000-yard club. He came just shy of breaking the all-time record. And who knows, if the team hadn't been limiting him at the start of the season, he probably could have easily gotten to that single season mark. And as I mentioned before, the Vikings would not be in the playoffs without Adrian Peterson. All of these players are fantastic. They all deserve recognition. They all deserve great credit. But Adrian Peterson is just a couple steps above the rest. He just had a monster season. And so that's it for today's episode. Tune in tomorrow for more playoff predictions, and when I'll talk about the receiver of the year. and then tune in on Monday when I do reflections from the divisional round, who won and who's playing each other next week, stuff like that. And until then, this has been the Fan Perspective. I'm your host, Nathan Nile. Happy Saturday. Enjoy the playoffs.